have control as of right now.
Yeah, and I hit start recording. I just realized that. So.
But I had hit it before I gave it to you, so
yeah.
that it's still enabled?
I honestly don't know, Jennifer.
Okay.
But I've got it recording on my end, so we should be okay.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, I did hit start recording and then clicked you on presenter,
yeah,
so I guess.
Okay.
Are we promptly starting at 11?
Yeah, yes.
We don't have that many people. We have 3.
At 11, you might want to say that first part that we're waiting for a few others to join, but we want to honor your time, so we'll start in just a couple of minutes. Maybe instead of saying begin on time, just say we'll start in a couple of minutes.
No, come on. Shut down. No. I hope this is just.
Come on, that's not right.
I have a passing dump truck. If people, what's going to start happening? If they're going to start doing landscaping around here.
Of course they are.
Not today, but hopefully we can be in sync.
I'm just trying to fix something because this wasn't right. So on my script, not on yours. Has nothing. You don't have to worry about it. You might want to go ahead and let's see. Darn it, I'm going to hope this is right, and I'm going to print it anyways.
But I can't. You're controlling that I can speak to people right now?
No, I'm getting ready to hit show my screen.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go ahead and hit start broadcast, and you can say that about we're going to wait.
And then do you mute it, or do we keep it open? What are we doing just before you do that?
It stays open, but their lines are muted. That you and I are now.
They'll hear us, though?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We just got another person. But there's no mic thing on her.
And because they logged into the computer, but they're still logging in. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and you can say that about waiting a couple more minutes.
Okay.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and welcome to Lumos Learning's webinar. We want to honor your time this morning, and we appreciate you logging in. We're going to just wait for a few people to sign in, and we'll begin shortly. Okay, thank you. So we'd like to honor your time again, so we'll begin now. Welcome to the Lumos Learning webinar. We are waiting for a few others, but at this point we'd like to get started. So we are going to, you'll see our screens. Hello and welcome to the ins and outs of the New Jersey Ask 2014 A School's Perspective. My name is Jennifer Torres, and I'm the Marketing Director here at Lumos Learning. and have over a decade of experience publishing educational materials and working with schools. I will be the moderator for our presentation today. It is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today, Marisa Adams. Marisa has worked in education for the past 15 years. She taught 8th grade U.S. history and was a campus-level administrator at the elementary, junior high, and high school levels. She has served as a curriculum writer and assessor and is currently completing her Ph.D. in educational administration. Her education-related publications include 2 district-wide curriculum guides for Katy Independent School District and multiple curriculum guides for Lumos Learning. In addition to her campus-level work, Marisa serves on U.S. Congressman Michael McCall's Educational Advisory Board and is a member of the Texas Council of Women's School Executives, American Supervision and Curriculum Development, Phi Kappa Phi, and Delta Kappa Gamma. She has been recognized 3 times in the Who's Who in Educational Leadership publication. Before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping tasks to mention. During the presentation, all lines will be muted. This will allow others the best opportunity to hear the presentation. However, we want active participation today. At times, we will unmute the lines so all can offer response to questions. At any point in the presentation, you can type a question into the chat or use the raise your hand feature. At the end of the presentation, we will have some time for questions and answers. Ms. Adams and I will answer as many questions as possible during that time. Secondly, this presentation will be videotaped, archived, and used with other people at later dates. This includes all of your answers, questions, and comments. So now if there are not any questions at this time, we'd love to begin the presentation. Okay, I don't see any questions.
I appreciate it. Good morning, and thank you again for joining us as we explore the ins and outs of the 2014 NJ Ask. We will be covering quite a few topics this morning. We're going to take a look at the Common Core State Standards Initiative timeline, the basics of the NJ Ask and any updates for this school year, specifics of the English Language Arts, Math, and Science tests, and then the best way to help prepare students for the test. We will then follow up with some time for questions and answers, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. The first attempt at standardizing content across the states began in June 2010. Over the years, these guidelines have been developed further to become the Common Core state standards we are familiar with today. Currently, these guidelines have been adopted by 45 states, 4 territories, and the Department of Defense Education System. A glance to the map at the top of the slide offers a quick visual as to which states have adopted the standards. These standards are not prescriptive in nature, but they do indicate what content should be taught at which grade level. The standards also build upon one another. A student may be exposed to particular content in one grade level and then should be able to analyze it at a later level. Looking towards the future, the goal for the initiative is to align the Common Core state standards and the current accountability systems within each state, and this is a process that is already ongoing. There are 2 consortiums that drive the assessment portion. PARCC, which is the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, and Smarter Balanced. States have chosen to join one or the other based on their preferences, and New Jersey works as a governing state within the PARCC system. The Common Core State Standards has now become a known term to most educators and administrators. All states which have adopted these new standards are moving towards implementing them the best they can within a certain time frame. New Jersey has been working on this change for some time now, and last year was the first year that the students experienced a change. Currently, the NJ Ask has been almost fully aligned to accurately assess the Common Core state standards. However, this testing year is considered the second transitional year. This test won't be the final one developed, as the full range of standards will be on the new tests developed and administered by PARCC in 2015. This will be the final year of the NJ Ask, and then as it's known now, and then all assessments will be aligned to the new PARCC framework. After an in-depth study between the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards and the Common Core State Standards, items that aligned to the Common Core were recoded to be included on the 2014 NJ Ask. Additionally, more items were field tested in 2012 and 2013 to be included as well. For the 2014 school year, students in grades 3 through 8 will be tested on Common Core State Standard aligned content that has been filtered into the familiar format of the NJ Ask. Students in grades 4 and 8 will also take a science test over content aligned to the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards. The PARCC Model Content Framework was used as a guide to align questions and scoring. Throughout this transition, math has faced more content shifts than English Language Arts. In math, the content shifts have been reflected in new content by grade level. In ELA, the shifts are more subtle because historically the NJ Ask has already included text-dependent constructed response items in reading as well as writing passages at every grade level. In 2014, students in grades 3, 5, 6, and 7 will take the English Language Arts and Math test. Students in grades 4 and 8 will take the English Language Arts, Math, and Science tests. Additionally, 75% of New Jersey schools currently have at least one school participating in a PARCC field test. But in order to successfully help students prepare for the NJ Ask, it is essential for schools to understand the current content shifts in each test and to focus specific expectations by content level. So let's start with a detailed look at the English Language Arts test. Throughout the English Language Arts portion of the test, students will face more complex texts with an emphasis on grade-level academic vocabulary. The questions asked will be based on specific evidence from the text. These shifts will actually be fairly subtle compared to the math changes, as the NJ Ask test historically included the text-dependent constructed response items we mentioned a moment ago. All passages will be targeted towards the higher end of reading complexity for a specific grade level, which also the NJ Ask historically already does. Classroom instruction should revolve around having students respond to texts by citing evidence from texts read, movies, television sources, digital sources, etc., as student scores will be reflected to show this citing. Additionally, for the 2014 school year, students in grades 3 through 5 will continue to read the poem independently, which was a change on the test last year, and the writing section will not include longer reading passages for students to read and respond to. The Common Core State Standards for grades 3 through 5 in English Language Arts are separated into two domains, reading and writing. Within these domains, we have the different types of tasks the students will need to complete. For grades 3 through 5 in writing, they will need to complete a narrative passage and then either an informative or opinion writing task. The informative explanatory prompts are based on familiar topics to students, and they are asked to describe, discuss, explain, or analyze some aspect of the topic. Students are able to draw on their own experiences or opinions and what they know to develop ideas for their writing. In reading, the two types of passages they will see are informational and literature, and these passages and questions are aligned to address the Common Core strands of key ideas and details and craft and structure. The students in these grades will be exposed to 3 different reading selections. And then taking a look at grades 6 through 8, again, students in these grade level are working with Common Core state standards in language arts that are also separated into 2 domains, reading and writing. Again, you can see within these domains we have the different types of tasks they will need to complete. They will complete a persuasive writing task and then either an informative or narrative writing task. Students in these grade levels will also have 2 different types of reading selections, informational and literature, and they will see 4 different reading selections. So then let's take a look at the scoring. Each domain is comprised of a set of related standards. Depending on the grade level, the reading tasks have a different number of questions. For example, in 3rd grade, students will have 18 multiple choice questions and 3 open-ended questions, while 4th grade will have 24 multiple choice questions and 3 open-ended, and 5th grade will have 30 multiple choice questions and 3 open-ended. The writing will be scored using a 5-point rubric, and the open-ended questions will use a 0 to 4-point rubric. And as you can see, the scoring for grades 6 through 8 isn't different among the grades as it was in grades 3 through 5. All the 6th through 8th graders will be scored in the same manner. The reading selections will have 36 multiple choice questions and 4 open-ended questions, giving a total of 52 points. The writing will be scored using a 6-point rubric and open-ended questions using a 4-point rubric, for a total of 70 points in grades 6 through 8. This slide is a visual graphic of information relevant to the English Language Arts NJ Ask for the 2014 school year. The first element you will notice is that this graphic relates to grades 3 through 8, as these grades have all transitioned to focusing on content aligned to the Common Core state standards. Next, you will see the types of tasks students will see when taking the ELA exam: the different reading selections, informational and literature, writing tasks, multiple choice questions, and open-ended responses. Moving to the left, you will see the point values associated with each test and how those points are derived. Each total score, 50 points for grade 3, 56 for grade 4, 62 for grade 5, and 52 for grades 6 through 8, will be calculated based on scores for writing tasks and questions based on reading selections. And finally, on the bottom portion of the visual, it indicates the number of questions under each section. Grades 3 through 5, you can see, are shown individually under the multiple choice questions. And then grades 6 through 8 have the same number of questions. Additional field test questions will be used again this year, but they will not be counted towards the overall score. As with all field test questions, students will not know which ones are identified to be field tests. So now let's move from the language arts to mathematics. The Common Core state standards for grades 3 through 5 mathematics are separated into 5 domains by grade level. This also remains the same for grades 6 through 8. Each domain is comprised of a set of related standards. The standards, again, offer schools a guideline as to what students should understand and be able to do by the end of each grade level. They are not intended to be teaching methods, though. They simply offer a model to the goals a school district should have for students within each grade level. Although the domains are all important in their own right, some domains are given greater emphasis than others at different grade levels. And also some standards build upon knowledge and skills acquired in previous grade levels. You can see the list on the screen of the domains by grade level in 3 through 5, and then again in 6 through 8. But along with establishing a clear, concise set of standards for each grade level, the Common Core initiative also includes a list of 8 practices that all successful mathematics students should be able to employ. This list of practices, described above, has been developed through many years of careful study of students and how they develop conceptual understanding of mathematics. Although some of these practices may seem like abstract ideas, teachers can help students to develop and apply them through carefully constructed exercises. Teachers can also establish a classroom environment in which students are encouraged to examine and reflect upon the thinking of others and themselves. These practices are an attempt to make mathematics more real for students. Students must recognize that math is not just a set of rules and definitions. Mathematics is a language requiring deep understanding and fluency. And along with understanding the content of the tests, it is also imperative to know how the test can be delivered. So we'll take a look at the guidelines offered by the New Jersey Department of Education for manipulatives, and this is for grades 3 through 5. Students will be allowed to use the blank grid graph paper on all sections. Students in grades 3 and 4 will no longer have the colored shapes, and students in grade 4 must know the formula for area and perimeter of a rectangle. For rulers, you can see on the screen the type of ruler that will be provided for each grade level in grade 3, 4, and 5. Students who receive accommodations through IEPs and 504 also have additional guidelines that can be employed. For Part 1 of the exam, students may be provided with only the ruler in grades 3 through 5 or the protractor in grade 4 and the reference sheet that's been made available to all other students. No additional manipulatives are allowed. For Parts 2 through 6, in addition to the ruler and protractor, the team may select one or more of the following manipulatives that are listed here. These are the options that can be included. Whatever manipulatives are chosen must be included on their accommodation sheet and noted ahead of time. So let's move into the scoring for the grades 3 through 5. The mathematics section of the NJASC is scored out of 50 possible points for grades 3, 4, and 5. As previously mentioned, the 5 domains do not have equal weight in each grade level. For instance, students are exposed to multiplication concepts and properties in depth during their 3rd grade year, and as a result, the NJASC 3 will put greater emphasis and weight on the domain operations and algebraic thinking. On the other hand, students begin working with decimals after grade 3. Since decimals are a base 10 concept, the domain number and operations in base 10 is given greater weight in grades 4 and 5 than it is in grade 3. The next slide shows the remainder of the domains from grades 3 through 5 and the points that each domain is worth on the NJASC mathematics assessment. Again, the point values for questions in each of the domains varies between the grade levels depending on how much emphasis is placed on that concept in each grade level. The one exception to this is geometry, where it's worth 6 points in all 3 grade levels. And now we'll switch from grades 3 through 5 to grades 6 through 8. Because the NJASC is fully aligned to the Common Core state standards now in 6 through 8, it is important to understand any scoring differences. For the 2014 school year, raw scores are generated in the 5 domains in each grade level, which have been aligned to the PARCC model content frameworks. There is not a score this year for mathematical practices. In grades 6 through 8, reference sheets have been developed to be consistent with the realignment. Geometric formulas have been removed when no longer necessary, as has any other additional information. The new sheets can be found for reference on the New Jersey Department of Education website. The punch-out ruler and protractor that students have used in the past will remain, and conversion factors and equivalents have also been altered to reflect the new model framework. Students will be allowed to use, again, the blank grid and graph paper on all parts of the tests, and parts 4 through 6 will allow calculator usage. And again, for students who are IEP students or 504 students, the calculator or other allowable manipulatives can be used on parts 2 and 3. Students who are using this accommodation must be tested in an alternative setting, and again, their accommodations must be documented. So let's look at the scoring on grades 6 through 8. The mathematics section of the NJASC grades 6 through 8 is scored out of 49 possible points. As mentioned previously, the same as in grades 3 through 5, each domain does not have equal weight in each grade level. For instance, again, students are exposed to some concepts in property in depth during their 6th grade year, or maybe even earlier, and then it is expanded in later years. The point values for questions in each of the domains varies between grade levels depending on how much emphasis is placed on that concept in that grade level. You'll note on the screen that the domain ratios and proportional relationships has 0 points for grade 8. That's because as we move to the next slide, you will also see that functions has 0 for grades, should be 6 and 7, should be green. The 5th domain for grade 8 is functions. And then here is the additional domains for grades 6 through 8. On the previous slides, the amount of weight given to each domain in a particular grade level was listed. The total number of points on the NJ Ask devoted to each domain can be broken down into 3 main types of problems for the mathematics assessment. The first type of problem will be set up in a multiple choice format. The students will be required to choose the correct answer from a set of 4 possible answers, and each correct response is worth 1 point towards the total score. The second type of problem is called a short constructed response. This type of problem also requires only a single answer, but the child is not given choices from which to choose. Instead, the answer must be written in an appropriate space in the test booklet in grades 3 and 4 and in the answer folder in grade 5. A correct response is worth 1 point, and there is no partial credit option on this exercise. Although the student is given the space to do the work, the person scoring the exercise only looks at what is written in the designated answer space. And then the third type of problem remains the extended constructed response. This type of problem ordinarily has multiple parts and requires the student to perform more than one task. The purpose of an ECR is to test for mathematical understanding. As a result, the ECRs are scored on a scale of 0 through 3. The people scoring the ECRs must determine the level of accuracy and understanding demonstrated by the student. It is possible for a student to receive partial credit on an ECR even if he does not put down the correct answer. The student may offer a written explanation that demonstrates a moderate level of understanding, even if he is not able to arrive at the correct answer. Conversely, a student may not receive full credit for an ECR simply by writing down the correct answer if he cannot explain the mathematical reasoning behind his approach to the problem. So this image here offers a visual representation of the content we covered for grades 3 through 5 Mathematics NJ Ask. The 5 mathematical domains students will be assessed on are represented on the left side of the chart. As discussed, although the domains are all important in their own right, some domains are given greater emphasis than others at different grade levels. This is illustrated in the next portion of the graphic, which is the weightage of the questions by grade level in each of these domains, shown in bar graph format. So you can see that the weightage on operations and algebraic thinking for grade 3 would be 14 points, and then the rest of the bar chart reflects that same information. Moving to the right side of the chart, the types of problems and their assigned point values are shown, offering a sample of how the total of 50 points will be reached. The total number of points on the NJ Ask devoted to each domain is broken down into the 3 types of problems that we just discussed. And then finally, the pyramid on the top right expresses the transitions that have already are testing with content aligned to the Common Core State Standard. The next graphic is a visual representation of aligned grades, the newly aligned grade content for 6 through 8. Again, we start with the mathematical domains students will be assessed on the right side of the chart. And again, you'll notice that 6 domains are listed here, and that's because of the difference between the function being tested only in grade 8. That becomes their 5th domain. Some domains, again, are given greater emphasis at different grade levels. So the next portion of this graphic is the weightage of questions by grade level in each of those domains, which again is shown in bar graph format. Moving to the center of the chart, the types of problems and their assigned point values are shown, offering a sample of how the total of 49 points for these grade levels will be reached. And again, one domain, functions, which is in the bottom right of the chart, is tested only in grade 8, and one domain, ratios and proportional relationships, the top left, is only tested in grades 6 and 7. The total number of points on the NJ Ask for grades 6 through 8, again, is in each domain can be broken down into the same 3 types of problems we discussed, the multiple choice, SCR, and ECR. And finally, the pyramid on the left side reflects that all students are, again, testing on content aligned to the Common Core State Standard. So now, although this one says mathematics, we're actually moving on to science content, focusing on tests for grades 4 and 8. The content for the science test is aligned to the New Jersey core curriculum standards, and the science assessment will include 4 parts broken down into 2 different types of questions, the multiple choice and the open-ended. The graphic that you see here shows the information. The first part of the graphic shows the types of questions students will be asked, the multiple choice and the open-ended, along with the number of questions associated with each type by grade level. Students in the 4th grade will have 33 multiple choice questions and 2 open-ended for a total of 39 points. And students in 8th grade will have 48 multiple choice questions and 2 open-ended for a total of 54 points. The bottom portion reflects the type of content on the exam: 40% life science, 30% physical science, and 30% earth science. But preparing students for success on the NJASC is not solely about understanding the content of the 3 different types of tests. In fact, it's not a standalone concept. It should be embedded into the regular classroom. Students and teachers should spend time familiarizing students with the types of content and questions they will come in contact with. The 3 types of math questions, multiple choice, SCR, and ECR. The 2 types of English language arts questions, multiple choice and open-ended. And the types of reading texts, informational and literature. When possible, teachers should also explain how the questions will be scored and allow students ample practice with writing clear, complete responses. Teacher feedback on these types of exercises is essential. Educators must also be familiar with the requirements listed in the Common Core standards. Teachers must make sure students are entering and leaving the grade level with the necessary skills and abilities to be successful at later grades. Any gaps in knowledge must be addressed, as they may lead to further difficulties down the road. And finally, students must also be given the opportunity to regularly practice for the test. Success on any standardized test requires a combination of skills in understanding content and familiarization with the test itself. Consistent test rehearsal with Common Core and NJASC-aligned test prep programs offer students the opportunity to combine both skills. Following these tips will help to ensure that your students are prepared for the NJASC assessment this spring. Research shows us that students perform at their best on standardized tests when they feel comfortable with the test content as well as the test format. That way, they can focus more on what is being asked and less on how it is being asked. One program that allows students the opportunity to practice tests in a setting that mirrors the new guidelines and frameworks is the Lumos Learning Step Up. This can be used to extend classroom learning as a supplemental program. It is self-paced, student-directed, individualized, and personalized learning that can improve student performance on any grade level standardized test. Lumos Learning offers the most flexible types of supplemental learning, ranging from printed books, online assessments, instructional videos, and platforms for schools and teachers to include their own unique content. This program relies on the most up-to-date Common Core state standard information, and all resources are aligned to the most current frameworks. More information can be found at lumoslearning.com/a/NJ. So at this point, we'd like to go ahead and open up for any questions that you might have had during the presentation. We'll take a second to see if any questions have popped up in the chat.
I don't see any as of now, but
okay.
We'd love to hear back.
One question that came through at one point was, will you receive copies of this? And yes, we will archive, as Ms. Torres mentioned at the beginning, we will archive the presentation, and you will be able to receive a copy of the archive. And then also, you will, if you would like, you can be able to receive a copy of the charts as they were used here for the ELA, the math, and the science to be used on your campuses if needed. Any other questions that have come in? Well, we would like to definitely thank you for joining us today, and we always like to keep our discussions active and provide additional information as we move into the new curriculum and in the new assessments, PARCC updates, etc. So we would greatly encourage you to join our discussion by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/LumosLearningSchools. We like to offer sample questions occasionally, like the one that you see listed here. And we'd also love your feedback about the presentation. So there will be a survey link on that Facebook page. It looks like a little survey monkey. And if you can click on that link, the survey should take less than a minute. It's not very long, but your feedback is essential as we go ahead and plan new webinars for future dates. If you have any questions or need copies of any of the information or just want further explanation, please feel free to send us an email at support@lumoslearning.com or visit our webpage at lumoslearning.com. And then we also have 2 support numbers that are listed here. And we would like to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your attendance.